Welcome. We're going to continue with the plant tissues. This is going to be the last lecture for the plant tissues. In fact, we only have one plant tissue left, which is the vascular tissue. So what is the vascular tissue? Generally speaking, we should know that the vascular tissue is going to divide into two types of tissues. We're going to have the xylem tissue and the phloem tissue. The vascular tissue function in general is transporting water and nutrients throughout the plant's body, as well as providing structural support. So transport and support, that is the main function of the vascular tissue. We're going to start with the xylem tissue. So the xylem tissue is derived from rectangular meristematic cells, and during development, these cells elongate and significantly increase in size. Upon reaching maturity, they lose their living components and ultimately become dead cells. So what you should know about that, you should know where they're derived from. Okay, so the xylem tissue is derived from the rectangular meristematic cells. This can present in the form of blank question, for example. And you should know that the mature form lose their living component and ultimately become dead cells. The xylem tissue is composed of various components that differ in structure and function. These include, very important, the components of the xylem tissue. You should know each one. So xylem vessels, tracheids, xylem fibers, and xylem parenchyma. The xylem vessels differentiate into several types, which vary based on the pattern of thickness or roughness. This point here is very important because when we're going to compare the xylem tissue with the phloem tissue, we have to mention this. Like, this is a fact that we need to mention, because this type of differentiation does not occur in the phloem tissue. It's specific to the xylem tissue. So this is like a comparison point we're making with the phloem tissue. So that's why we have to know like every line and like not skip anything. Now the tracheids are characterized by their pointed, tapered ends, which distinguish them from the xylem vessels. Now, a possible question can ask you, like, how can we distinguish the tracheids from the xylem vessels? Maybe they will use the word microscopically. Okay, they use some fancy stuff to make you scared, but like there's nothing hard here. They can also like give you a question, just telling you like what are the characteristics or features for each of the following, and they will tell you tracheids. So here are the characteristics of the tracheid. We said that they're tapered at the ends, and that's what they distinguish them from the xylem vessels. Xylem vessels and tracheids are specialized for transporting water along with dissolved minerals and nutrients. So these are the functions, okay? These are the functions of the xylem vessels and the xylem tracheids. So both xylem vessels and xylem tracheids share a common function here. One thing to point out is that the xylem fibers here, their main function is strength and support. Now the phloem tissue is composed of several types of cells. Again, the types of cells and the components are extremely important. So here we're going to have sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fibers, and phloem parenchyma. All these types of phloem cells share a common feature, is that they are specialized in transporting nutrients produced by the leaves. Okay, so transporting nutrients produced by the leaves, this is the common for each single one of those except, okay, we have an exception, which is the fibers, the phloem fibers, because here the phloem fibers function as structural support rather than transport. We can have a question telling you that the vascular tissue includes what and what. This is a very important one. Like, this is actually a previous question, and includes what? Xylem and phloem. One of the most comparison questions in the book is the comparison between the xylem and the phloem, where you're going to compare the components, and you're going to compare the functions for each one. And here, as I said, the xylem fibers provide strength and structural support. It's not mentioned here, but you have to mention it in here, and it is assessed. Okay, it's not really mentioned in the book. They don't directly say, okay, the xylem fibers provide strength and structural support, but when we look at the past papers and we get the question, the xylem fiber function, the answer is strength and structural support. That's the answer. So you have to know this. It's something that is assessed, and commonly assessed even, and very important. And for the phloem, of course, we've talked about all of them share a common function, which is the transport of nutrients produced by the leaves, and only one exception, which is the fiber, which is also going to provide strength and structural support. And as I told you, that the xylem vessels differentiate into several types based on their roughness or thickness. I told you that this is we're going to mention in the comparison question, because here there's no such differentiation happening. So no differentiation or thickness in the sieve tubes or any other structure. Question: what is the function of xylem fibers, phloem fibers? They both have a structural support and strength function. Question: what is the function of vascular tissue? Now, the vascular tissue in general, we said that in general, they transport water and nutrients throughout the plant's body, as well as providing structural support. Sieve tubes, they transport organic particles within the plant's body. Now, this is kind of different from what we've discussed earlier. Like, we said that they all share a common function here, and then now we're talking about organic particles. That is not mentioned here. This is mentioned in this table here. This is the last table comparing the plant tissues, and this is not from me. Like, I'm not making this up. This is taken directly from the official answer papers for the past questions. So this is how they presented the official answer. But of course, if you mention this, like instead of saying organic particles and you just mentioned that, I would believe it would still be considered correct. Like, there is no way they're going to consider it incorrect. But of course, we go with norm, and we go with with what is official and what we already have. So since we already have this, and this is like an official answer paper, so of course we have to go with it. Okay, we say that organic particles, etc. This is the official answer paper. So of course this is like superior to any other opinion. Okay, here we do not provide opinions. We just provide what they want you to write down in the exam. Another question is telling you to justify that xylem provides a mechanical function in addition to its main role in transport. This is due to the presence of xylem fibers. We said that xylem fibers mainly provide strength and structural support, which contribute to mechanical support by providing strength and structural reinforcement. Question: what is the difference between phloem fibers and sieve tubes in terms of location and function? Now, of course, you can have those small, short short answers or short questions telling you to compare this and that. It's common, or it's possible. So in terms of location, they're both located in the phloem tissue, but in terms of function, of course, they're different, because the phloem fiber provides strength and structural support, and sieve tubes function, they transport organic particles within the plant's body. Here you're going to have the last table for the plant tissues. I don't think there is anything here that we haven't discussed, so you're just going to read it straight from your book or from this PDF, which I'm going to provide. And by here we're done with the plant tissues. I want you to repeat them, quiz yourself, keep repeating them until you're pretty much good with it. Okay, you master it. And here we have a drawing question. The phloem tissue. It's easy, nothing too crazy about it.